What is up, homies? My name is Felix, and I'm here back again with another little LMMS video for you guys. And today in this one, we're going to be talking a little bit about mixing. So I know a few people have been asking me to drop a tutorial on how to mix your beats inside of LMMS, and I figured that I would do just that for you guys here today. So before we start this video, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud. Those will both be down in the description below, along with a playlist of songs I've produced, my beat store, my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you wish to. And now we can get in this video. Alright, so basically for this video, I have this beat here that I made, but I have everything just set to the default setting. Everything's on, 100% volume. Nothing has been adjusted, nothing has been mixed or anything like that. And obviously what I'm about to show you is going to work with, whatever instruments you have, whatever drums you have in there, whatever type of genre of music you have, anything you want, this is going to apply pretty much. However, I do want to clear up a couple little things about mixing and mastering for some of the beginners out there and for, just people in general. So basically mixing by definition is the step of your music making process where you have all of your sounds and you make them mesh together. Think of it just like you're baking a cake or you're cooking up some type of dish. You want all of your stuff, you want all of your ingredients to mix together perfectly to create one nice thing. And that's essentially what mixing is when we make beats. We want everything to fit together perfectly, nothing to be too loud, nothing to be too quiet, and that's honestly the majority of it. Mixing also kind of encompasses like EQing and compression and all that stuff as well, but like the main majority of it is just leveling your sounds pretty much. It's just making sure that nothing's too loud, nothing's too quiet, like I said. So now that we're all clear on what mixing is, you might still be wondering kind of what mastering is, because a lot of times you hear mixing and mastering thrown around all over the place in the producer world. But however, not everybody is super clear on what mastering is. So basically mastering is like the post-production step after you've mixed everything, after you've done everything you need to do inside your beat, laid it all out, made the beat and everything. Mastering is basically what you do to the track to get it to its like maximum loudness so that it sounds good and radio quality. So essentially today I'm going to be showing you guys mixing and then kind of mastering, and for all intensive purposes in LMMS, your final product is probably going to be like pretty up to par. It's going to be what you need it to be for the most part. You're not going to really need to make it too much louder or boost things too much. Also, another thing that I should say is that this is just the way that I mix. This is not like a standard way that people should all mix or anything, because there is numerous different methods of mixing and mastering out there, but today I'm just going to be showing you guys my little method that I have. So basically what we have here unmixed sounds like this, and I must warn you, it's not going to sound good. So that's not like terrible or anything, but there's a lot of things that we can do to it to make it sound more professional and just better overall. So usually when I'm making a beat, I'll actually adjust these knobs just while I'm making the beat. So if I were to go in here and just play this, I'm going to adjust the knobs as I see fit. And kind of the general procedure that you want to follow is that you want your kicks and 808s and your claps or snares to kind of be the loudest things, followed by your melody, which should be like right around there, maybe a little bit quieter. And then you want your hi-hats to kind of be like the quietest, but then you want your percussion to kind of sit like in the middle of like the claps and the melody a little bit. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that right here. So I'm basically just going to play this on loop in the song editor, and then I'm going to go in here in the beat and bassline editor and just adjust the volumes a slight bit. But I'm not going to be super precise with this because I'm actually going to put all these sounds into the mixer here, and then we're going to adjust them further from there. Alright, so as you can see, I basically just turned everything down, and you can honestly just go in here and turn everything down, turn everything to the left quite a bit, and then just assign everything into a mixer, because this right here is probably the best place to adjust your volume at, because you can actually see the volume, and that really helps you out a lot. So basically what I'm going to do now is assign all of these to a mixer track, and the way you do that is you click on this little gear, and then you go to this thing, and then do assign to a new effects channel, and now you'll have this in here. So now I'm going to go through and do this with every single one of these sounds. So now that I have all of these assigned to their own mixer tracks, this eliminates the need to have the beat and bassline editor open while I'm adjusting the volumes, which is a nice thing also. But now I can basically just play this and see how the volumes are looking from here. So as you guys can kind of see there, it basically looked exactly the way that I described to you at first. So the 808 and the kick were kind of being the loudest, along with the clap, and then these percussion and snare sounds. And then after that, all of the melodic components, which are these 4 tracks out here, and then the lowest in volume were the closed hi-hat and the open hi-hat. So the thing with mixing is that it can be kind of subjective, so it's good to kind of follow a little bit of a guideline, but at the same time, if you think something should be louder or something should be quieter, then you should make that thing louder or that thing quieter. At the end of the day, it's your song, and however you want to do it, however you want to mix it is up to you. But basically, when it comes down to mixing the melodic components of your song, I'm just going to solo all these. You basically just want to think about all the different instruments and what you kind of want to stick out, what you kind of want to have, you know, behind, like tucked away in the mix. So for me, I want to have this kind of guitar sound be like the driving force of the melody, and then I want to have these mallets be a little bit quieter, and then I want to have the strings be the thing that's kind of like tucked away in the mix a little bit, and then I want this piano to be a little bit in the middle of the strings and these, you know, mallet and guitar sounds. So basically, I'm just gonna kind of adjust the volumes like that. Also, before you really do too much of anything, what you should do is go to your master track here, and then go to add effect, and then add a declipper. And this is kind of something that you probably should do like first before you even make the beat, to be honest. And basically what the declipper does is just stops all of your sounds from going above 0 dB, and that's kind of the limit that you want your sound to be at, because if anything goes above 0 decibels, it can cause like people's speakers to blow out, and it'll get really crunchy and muddy and gross sounding. But now back to the little melody part that I was working on. So after I've leveled them all out and I've like decided where I want the volumes to be, so it's probably going to be kind of looking like this. What I'll do now is probably go in and add reverb and an EQ onto each one of these sounds. And with the EQ, what I'll usually do is I'll take out the low end, but not too much low end, and I'll show you like just about how much I usually take out. So we're gonna go to add effect and then search for EQ, and then we're gonna put this one on here, and this is a visual EQ, so it's really good. So usually with my EQ on the melodic components, what I'll do is I'll cut out anything that's in this range pretty much, because this is the range that will kind of mess with your 808s. And that's essentially the point of EQing your melody, is so that it won't mess with your 808s and your kicks and stuff like that. So usually my EQ is going to look something a little bit like this. And then if I want to take out some of the high end, if I think it's a problem, I'll do that. But for this one, I'm not really going to take out any high end, I don't think. But basically what I did here with cutting the frequencies out is I just kind of stretched this, and ignore this because I had to move these so that this will be kind of steeper. But basically what I did was I dragged the one to a point where it had the sound sounding similar to the original, but like a little bit slightly different, and had just like a little bit of the low end cut out. We don't want to make these sounds drastically different from the original sounds that we had, unless, you know, that's what you're going for and you want to make them sound way different. But usually with your EQing, less is more. You don't have to do a whole lot. So now that we have the EQ, we're basically just going to see if we can put a reverb on this little guitar sound. So we're going to look through the reverb plugins. So I just put this calf reverb on here, and I just turned up the decay time, the wet, and the dry, and then I kept everything else pretty much the same. So that's probably what I'm going to do for all the other sounds, except for some of them I'm going to turn down the dry and the wet, depending on whether I want them to have a lot of reverb or not. And now essentially we're just going to repeat this whole process for all of the melodic portions of the beat, except for the strings, because there's one thing I want to do with the strings that's going to be a little bit different, but I'll show you guys once I get there. Alright, so I just put some reverb and some EQ on this sound and on the piano sound. And now for the strings, I basically put some reverb on that too. But with the EQ, what I'm going to do is I'm going to EQ out some of the high end like this. So it's going to sound like this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this way more stereo, so it's going to be wider in your headphones or speakers or whatever you're using. So we go to add effect, and then you can just type in stereo, and I like to use the stereo matrix. So with the stereo matrix, you just adjust these middle knobs here until you get it to the way that you like it to sound. So there's a few different combinations that you can use. You can go like this, you can go like this, you can go like this, both to the middle, whichever you want to do, whichever you think sounds best. Some of them will put it more mono, some of them will put it more stereo. So you just got to play around with it a little bit, but I like to probably have it like this, I think. And then also I'm going to move this up to the top like this. And actually, now that I'm listening to this, I want a little bit more of this high end back, so I'm going to go like this. And a very big portion of mixing is basically just going through and playing the song a whole bunch and then adjusting the different, you know, volumes as you see fit. So like, let's say I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh, the clap is kind of loud, I'll turn the clap down a little bit. I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh, the 808 needs to be a little bit louder, I'll turn the 808 up. So it's basically just about making small little adjustments until you get it perfect, until you get it just right, the way you like it to sound. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to do a little bit of adjusting. And basically at this point we're pretty much done, other than just adjusting the levels a little bit more, because I don't usually put any sort of EQ or effects or anything on my drums. Some people like to put reverb and stuff on their drums, but I just think that's weird. I don't really do that too much. So with the piano, I actually added a lot more reverb onto it because I wanted to be more of like an ambient sound, and like little stuff like that is what you should be thinking about. Like, oh, do I want this to stick out more in the mix? Do I want this to be more tucked Do I want it to be more ambient? Just little stuff like that you have to be keeping in mind when you're mixing and when you're doing your EQ and reverb and stuff like that. So just my luck, actually, my microphone was muted during this section of the video, during this section of the recording. But what I'm saying here basically is that the last kind of thing that you can do to make your track sound a little bit louder once you've adjusted all the volumes and everything, as you kind of can see that I've done that a little bit, you can go to your master track, go to add effect, and then search up maximizer, and then you can click on this Barry Satan maximizer thing. And then basically once you put this on, you just want to adjust the knee point, the decibels of the knee point slightly. You just want to bring it up to like maybe 2 decibels max. It's probably going to be more around like 1.5 or like 1, and this will just make your track a little bit louder and, you know, give it some added volume and some added little bit of professionality. But yeah, so then I just laid out the beat and I was pretty much done after that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial on mixing and mastering inside of LMMS. Let me know if you guys have any questions down in the comments below. Make sure to check out my Instagram, SoundCloud, playlist of songs I produced, my beat store, my Discord. All that stuff will be in the description, and I will see you guys next time.
Baby, come follow me.